You know, there's a side of leadership that doesn't get talked about enough. It's not on books, it's not on stages, and it's definitely rarely on social media. And that is knowing when it's time to let someone go. Hi everyone, my name is Lena Nasserdeen. I'm the CEO and founder of Rise Up For You, and welcome to Rise Up For You TV. We work with organizations, entrepreneurs, and leaders around the world, helping them build the skills that no one really ever teaches you. So today we're talking about how to let someone go, because contrary to what people think, most leaders do not struggle with letting go of someone who is clearly toxic, disengaged, or unwilling to do the work. What leaders struggle with is letting go of someone they care about. Someone who has been loyal, someone who has showed up early in the day, someone who tried, someone who really wanted to succeed. That's where leadership becomes emotionally complex. And trust me, I have been there, and I'm speaking from experience. Because now it's not just about a business decision, it's a human one. And at the end of the day, we all as leaders want to add value and be as human-centric as possible. And if you're a values-driven leader like myself, that tension can keep you up at night. But here's what I want to say clearly. Feeling loyalty does not make you a weak leader. Avoiding the decision does. Strong leaders feel deeply and decide responsibly. The real challenge is understanding the difference between patience and prolonging misalignment. Ooh, that's a good one. Because at some point, what feels like loyalty quietly turns into avoidance and also resentment. And avoidance and resentment have a cost. It shows up in the team dynamics, it shows up in performance gaps, it shows up in resentment, confusion, and a lack of clarity. And oftentimes it creates more stress for you as the leader. Often before you consciously realize it, the rest of the team already feels it, and they're just waiting for you to make the decision. High performers actually feel it first. They feel the inconsistency, they feel the lowering of the standards, they feel the emotional labor of compensating for someone else. And when that happens, leadership is no longer neutral. Inaction becomes a decision. You know, one of the hardest truths leaders must accept is this: every person on your team affects the whole system. Culture is not what you say, it's what you tolerate. So how do you actually know when it's time? That's the big question. It's a pattern. You've had the conversations, you've provided feedback, you've offered support, coaching, clarity, maybe even grace. And by the way, all of those things I highly recommend you do before you make the decision, because then you can say you gave it your best shot. And despite all of that, the same issues could keep showing up, not because the person is bad, but because the role, the expectations, or the level of ownership no longer fits the individual. And here's where many leaders get stuck. They confuse potential with reality. And I've been there. In fact, most recently, I went through this situation. They keep leading from who this person could be instead of who they are consistently being. And that is a lesson that we all need to learn as leaders. Leadership requires you to lead based on patterns, not promises. Intentions don't move organizations forward. Behavior does. You know, I recently had a team member that I cared deeply about. They worked for the company for a little over 2 years, coached, did training, had multiple performance reviews, and a lot of the time their performance was awesome. It helped the company and moved it forward. But more than 50% of the time, it went in the opposite direction. And that created a lot of stress. It took me over a year to finally make the decision. And I realized it through another key signal: misalignment, not just in skill, but in mindset. If someone consistently resists accountability, deflects feedback, or operates in survival mode instead of growth mode, no amount of loyalty will fix that. Have you ever had a team member that no matter what happens, they are constantly attracting bad energy and things are constantly falling apart? And you know, that's not fair to them either. Sometimes staying in what actually limits someone's growth can impact them just as much as it impacts you. There's also something important that we don't say enough. Letting someone go is not always rejection. Sometimes it's redirection. It's a blessing in disguise for the person that you have to let go and say goodbye to. You are acknowledging that this environment, this pace, the level of expectation is no longer the right container for them. And leadership is not about forcing fit. It's about creating clarity. And to tell you the truth, this has been a lesson for me as well, because as a coaching and training company, we always want to see the good in people. We want to push their potential. We want to coach them through the challenge. But it can be very weighing and taxing on an emotional level as well. Because if you're a leader who cares, this will will never feel easy. And that's a good thing. If letting someone go feels casual or careless, that could be a problem when it comes to your leadership. But caring does not mean avoiding responsibility. Again, a lesson that I had to learn. Caring means handling the decision with integrity, transparency, and respect. It means being honest rather than dragging someone through months of uncertainty. It means having the courage to say, this isn't working, instead of quietly hoping that it fixes itself. You know, one of the most common leadership regrets is not that they let someone go too soon, is that they waited too long. And in the process, culture eroded, people turned over because they couldn't stand being there, and culture and values became compromised. Because when leaders delay, the situation deteriorates, and trust becomes a challenge, communication becomes guarded, and the energy of the entire team shifts. And eventually, the decision becomes more painful for everyone involved. So here's a question every leader should ask themselves, and something that I most recently asked myself. If nothing changed for the next 6 months, would this still be acceptable for the team? If the answer is no, then clarity is overdue. Leadership is stewardship. It's ownership. It's making decisions even when it's hard. You're responsible for the people who stay just as much as the person who leaves. Again, my name is Lena Nasserdeen. I'm the CEO and founder of Rise Up For You, and welcome to Rise Up For You TV. We're here to support you, your team, and your potential so that you can become your best. And if this video resonated with you, any portion of it, please share it with your team, share it with your friends, share it with your family. And don't forget to click like below. I'll see you next time. The world does not need more managers. It needs transformational leadership. Leaders who inspire ownership, create clarity, and build cultures where people do their best work. At Rise Up For You, we coach and train leaders to move from command to commitment, from compliance to true engagement. So if you're ready to move from a transactional leader to a transformational leader, book a call below. We'd love to support you, learn more about your goals, and share with you how we are helping leaders around the world elevate their team, their performance, and their personal leadership skills. The call is completely free, and we'd be honored to learn and share more about how we can help you get to the next step as a leader, because the world needs you now more than ever.